All right. Grand Rising, everyone. It is Sunday, July 27th, a little after 11 a.m. Go ahead and get started. See if we have any questions from yesterday. On yesterday, Pastor took us on a journey from read some things from a book that he and Sheldon had shared, and we got some insight from it, and sort of looked at our journey and where we are right now, and which is uh, which is very enriching for the times right now. A lot of things going on. But any questions about that? Anything that was said yesterday? Any thoughts? Anything you may have thought about since we got off the line?
Good morning, everybody. Ron, I just have a question for you. Did
Of
you
course.
catch that guy was the husband of the woman who wrote The Spirit of Intimacy?
It was funny when you said that. Because I was wondering the same thing, and when you said it yesterday, I had not. I don't have his book, but I had been intending to order it, Audrey. Uh, I have ordered several copies of her book because I keep finding people to give it away to. I love her little book, and I've been giving it to everybody that I can think of. So, but I've been meaning to get his, and I'm interested to read. The contrast between the two books is what's kind of fascinating to me, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah,
Pastor, what was the name of the book again?
Of Water and the Spirit, Ritual, Magic, and Initiation in the Life of an African Shaman. But of Water and the Spirit.
of water and the spirit.
Malidoma Patrice Thome.
I think when I first saw it, when I pulled hers up on Amazon, his book showed up as well, maybe because of the last name.
Yeah,
But
you guys know I don't know the name of a book. I can tell you what color it is.
Yes, what color is it?
It's yellow and orange.
so just go out and buy every yellow and orange book till you find it.
I, that's how I find my book on the shelf. I know what color they are, so I look for that color. It's okay. I don't take offense to you laughing.
I am
But
laughing, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Um, are there any questions, seriously, about anything? Or comments? Because something came to me. Um, Something came to me in reference to um, the male, the African male, based upon, and I don't mean the African necessarily on the continent, I'm talking about period, the African masculine mindset. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. After our discussion yesterday about how the African mindset was molded by Christianity and the dangers um, that is inherent in that. And the things that we that are continuing to reverberate through the African mindset. And what I begun to see was the reason there is so much enmity between masculinity and femininity in the mindset of the African is because masculinity and femininity is not approached from the African mindset. The approach to it is from the European/Neanderthal mindset. And that is a result, a direct result of indoctrination. And would you make sure that your phones are muted, please? Thank you. It is a direct result of indoctrination. And what I mean by that is this. The whole concept of masculinity being the superior form of leadership in the earth is not an African concept. The idea of being manipulative when it comes to efforts to control femininity is not an African concept. Being brutal towards femininity is not an African concept. Walking away from children that you have fathered is not an African concept. There are so many things that are not African concepts that the African male has embraced. And the reason it is being embraced is because the ego that has been fostered in the mindset of African men as a result of them being trained to think like Neanderthals. And when we process that way, there are several things that take place within the home as well as within the confines of our communities. And not to mention the lack of creativity that exists when we function with that mindset. Am I saying that the mindset of femininity, the African femininity, has not also been indoctrinated? Yes, it has. The indoctrination of the mindset of femininity is that females think they are supposed to, or African femininity thinks it is supposed to take a back seat to masculinity, and thinks that masculinity is supposed to be the dominant force in the earth and to lead everything that is to be led. That is not an African concept. When we look at the women of Dahomey and saw the female as warriors, if you look behind the scenes, what you will begin to see is that the invaders, the European invaders with their Neanderthal mindset, killed the men. Their targets were men and boys and then the women. And they killed the men to make the villages vulnerable to them so they could do anything they wanted to. And when they killed the men, you would see femininity going to war as opposed to men going to war. And that has taken place for so long until right now. Because of Islam and Christianity, and of course Judaism, we see that Africans have more of a Neanderthal mindset than they do the mindset of an African when it comes to femininity. And part of that, of our discussion yesterday about the indoctrination and how our Christianity did it, the method that they used, part of that is seen in the way that the villages in what is now known as Burkina Faso, because the autobiography is based on life in Burkina Faso during a period of invasion. So, what I'm saying is that we have to take into consideration what has taken place with us in terms of indoctrination, be it by Christianity or any other form. But the reality of it is there, and addressing it today gives us opportunity to renew our minds. It gives us opportunity to begin the metamorphosis that is necessary in order for our emotional state to become more geared toward the mindset of the African, meaning that the mindset is more spiritual than it is material. So it is from this foundation that I would like to get feedback, that I would like to speak today because of the importance of it and the dangers of remaining in that mindset. Are there any questions or comments? Am I clear? Does it make sense? Can you see it?
You're clear. It makes sense.
It resonates.
Yeah. It is
Well, Reb,
go ahead, George.
thank you. Good morning, everyone. Reb, one of the things I want to add is we oftentimes, with African American males, we fall for the illusion. And I asked some of my circle of influence, would you rather be kind or would you rather be nice? And the majority of the group referred back to a female. And they were saying that, man, you can't be nice with these women. And I wasn't asking, I was just asking for a totality of life. Yet that was their answer. And the most seasoned person in the group stated, if we don't start learning how to interact with the female and also learn how to interact with money, we're going to be worse than the European or the white boy. So in this indoctrination that we're up under, and it's not just the male, it's all of us. When you look at the therapy field, they are trained to say that they are a trained professional. Yet what if the training that they got was very much unprofessional? They fell for the illusion. And some people are calling themselves trained professionals and they're not. And on my American logic, Miss Cassie is not a trained professional. One reason, because she can tolerate me, she can deal with me. Trained professionals don't know how to deal with me. Can I deal with them? Yes. So in this indoctrination, we fell for an illusion. And once we recognize this is an illusion, then I think we go back toward a Kabbalah. Then I think we buy more into that concept. Yet males and females who are African American or African, how you say it, Reverend Richard? I wasn't born in a Kabbalah, yet a Kabbalah was born in me.
Yes.
A good portion of us have bought into an illusion. And in conclusion, Rev, or to the group, my great nephew asked me, he said, Jojo, does God know Santa Claus? And I just had to tell him, don't none of them exist. Yet I had to catch him before he buy really off into that illusion that there is a Santa Claus. So if you can, Reverend Richard, or anyone, the illusions that we fall for, that's what keeps us bounded. Thank you.
The idea of being a trained professional, I would like to speak to that first. Audrey, were you getting ready to speak?
I was just getting ready to agree that those illusions and those are the kinds of things that blind us that we talked about a couple of days ago, being blinded. And and I would say the whole concept of America is kind of an illusion that has blinded us too.
Okay.
So uh, I just wanted to agree with that part.
Okay. And that illusionary part is true. I agree with that. However, when we look at the concept of a trained professional, um, being a trained professional simply means that your journey through the annals of academia had a goal in mind. And that goal in mind could be counseling, but it also could be chemistry. So when we talk about a training professional, we're talking about someone who is not only does not only have expertise in that particular field, as someone who has had significant training in order to do what they do. And of course, it is based upon a European mindset because that's the education system that we have matriculated through. However, the problem with it is this, or the issue I take with it is this. There are sociological, psychological areas of expertise that is not respected by people, especially African men. One of the most difficult things in the world is to get an African man, especially an Americanized African man, to think that he needs help and to respect the psychiatrist, the counselor, etc. For total disclosure, I must say to you that I have a therapist who is a counselor, and I have a therapist who's also a psychiatrist. And I was on that pathway of not believing I needed one until I got one, or got them and brought them into my life. The other part of my disclosure is that I am indeed a counselor, and I do it quite frequently. I have respect for counselors, but the problem with it is people don't understand the role of a counselor or a therapist. People believe that the therapist is there to heal them when they're not. The therapist is there for you to heal yourself by virtue of looking deeply into who you are, and as a result of that, finding the answers from within. Now, I know that there are therapists on this line, and if I have misspoken in any way, please correct me or give a more understanding of what I am saying. And the reason I'm looking at more specifically the counselor is because that's the profession that was brought up. I could do the same thing with a chemist or a financial planner. The difference is that those professions have material, tangible things that you can see, that you can touch, feel, and smell. The area of therapy and counseling and psychiatry and psychiatry rather, is more geared toward emotions, the things that you experience, as opposed to the things that appeal to the senses. Does that make sense?
Well, Reb, let me ask you all a question. Tell me if I heard you right. You stated that the therapist is not there to help you.
Uh, no,
What did you say, Ray?
the therapist is not there to heal you, but to help you heal yourself.
And Reb, just the duality of it, I understand the role of the trained professional. I understand that. I don't think trained professionals understand the role of the person that's seeking help. Just with me, I favor the barbershop because the barbershop gonna tell you if you were incorrect, correct, right, or wrong. I'm gonna favor them kind of
Okay,
people.
okay, hold right there, George. I'm not going to get in depth with a back and forth about counselors because I do want to look at the mindset of the African male, especially in the Americas, in America. Um, Regardless of what your choices are when it comes to counseling, it does not mitigate the reality that counselors are professionals and that counselors are good at what they do if they are dedicated to what they do. And just like any other profession, there are those who are truly there for the dollar, and there are those who truly are there simply because it's an easy way out to them, not to the counselor who's committed. And that is a huge difference. If you are one of the people who choose to go to the barbershop and get counseled, then that's something that you have chosen to do, but have no expectations of getting better at the thing that you are seeking to change. Um, why? Because the barbershop therapy is hit or miss, and barbershop therapy is usually BS. And barbershop therapy um, is BS because in the barbershop, everything is talked about. And believe you me, I spend enough time in barbershops to know what goes on in them. So next time that the therapy is sought and you go to the barbershop, also go to the barbershop as people did in the past when they were sick. The barbers used to cut them and let them bleed. They thought that they could heal a disease by bleeding people. I'm saying that the barber is there to cut your hair or to shave you and to have conversation with you while it's being done for the purpose of entertainment, not only to keep you entertained, but also to keep you coming back. Now, having said all of that, I will solicit a response to that. However, I really, really want to look at the mindset of the Neanderthal / African. So George, it's open to you.
Well, Reb, I disagree on what you said, but that's your opinion.
I don't speak in opinions, sir.
Okay. Well, I mean, some people may not feel that the barbershop is all BS. If the barbershop is giving you truth, it's the truth that brings you back. Not because he or she can give you a good Caesar fade. Truth gonna be in every arena, and the truth can be in a parking lot. So I just roll with what truth is. I don't go on to the part of idols or anything like that. So yet one thing, Reb, and that's just something we just disagree on, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. Yet, Reb, homeboy of mine called me. He said, George, I'm going into ministry. And he said he was called to. I said, you going to talk about tithes and offering? He said, yeah. I said, well, you're going to have to go to seminary school because you're going to be trained. If you were called to get in that pulpit, money should be the last thing you talk about. And I think back on you. I ain't never really heard you talk too much about tithes and offering. And if you have talked about it, you've talked about it in its original standpoint, not about money. And I just believe that if God has called me to do something, money should be the last thing that I'm worried about. If I was called to get into trucking, money should not be my motivating factor. So that's about it right there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't deal with tithe and offering that much because tithe and offering is the responsibility of those who you lead, those who you're taught. And everyone I have covered has been taught. So whether they do it or not is up to them. And I don't travel that road. Ron?
Uh, I was trying to remember how you worded your original question, but the difference, I think, in looking at the African and the mindset, uh, it's like it's like any type of trauma, I guess. Uh, this is generation and generation of things that have been uh, hammered into you literally and taught to you this way for the sake of survival. Uh, and from the perspective of healing that or bringing people back around to the African mindset or bringing a better way of saying it, bringing them into a place of balance. Uh, I don't know. I can't say you do step A, B, or C, but I can say it is a spiritual thing and it has to be dealt with that way, this way, because of how it was done. So it is no easy task. Some of the things that we talked about yesterday and where we start off today, the belief that you dominate the woman and you're the head of the house and you're this and you're that. It's something that came with a lot of brutality and violence, and it cannot be corrected that way. It must be done through spirituality and love. I'm just you know, there is no how-to book to me on how to do that except for what we're attempting to do here now.
Hello. Hello, King. This is Sheldon speaking. I see it's connected to what we were talking about in the African and what George just said when he was also talking about what happens in the barbershop and more so the Neanderthal mindset. George, when you mentioned the barbershop, you were saying that the person or the people were going there to actually get truth. And in that truth, in a sense, I imagine being told what they're doing right or wrong or what they actually should do. What we're talking about and what Pastor Richard is talking about in terms of a counselor, regardless, I really want to say irregardless, which Webster says is a word, but regardless of whether that therapist are trained or not, and what Pastor Richard was actually saying is that the therapist is trying to get the person to not only do or maybe say some type of action that's not the goal. It's for them to understand themselves better, which means that they have to go within. Not doing something because they were told it's the right thing to do, but perhaps doing it because they want to do it and they, from a deep point from within, and that particular thing, that action that they're taking, aligns with themselves. That is what we do every week when we come here. We're not ever trying to be told, or no teacher is trying to tell anyone what to do. This is simply speaking in terms of all of us as the teachers do to try to better understand ourselves as well, understand who and what we are, and operate from that principle, which is true us and who we are.
Sheldon, would you hold for
Wholehearted.
one moment, please?
Sure.
A second. There is noise behind you.
Can you please mute your phone? Okay. And so that particular thing we're talking about, the African and how the African has changed in a sense, or how the African has been influenced greatly by the Neanderthal. It is not based upon what is true to the African. It is, as Ron just said a moment ago, something has come from survival, and something that has come from how that African now sees themselves in terms of engaging with the world. But it's not the way that the African naturally engaged with the world. It's the way that some other group engaged with the world and then influenced the African to act in that particular way, in the same way. But it's not natural to the African. The African does not even have the same, or did not have the same relationship, for example, with nature. It worked along with nature. It saw nature as a friend. It saw itself as a part of nature, and nature part of it. The African saw itself as nature as well. Other group, on the other hand, saw nature as violent, brutal, and an opposition and something to contend with, which is something totally different. And then that particular way of interacting with the world, interacting with life in general, is then essentially in all avenues and ways that the person actually deals with any and everything from that mindset. As an aside, right quick, is the same thing in certain professions where you cannot turn certain things off. People who are typically accountants, doctors, and lawyers, a lot of times, they cannot turn that thing off within their life because they're always looking for problems, and they cannot just turn it off from their profession, and therefore even have a higher rate of suicide. Lawyers always being skeptical and looking for problems to cross-examine people, for example, certain lawyers. Accountants always looking for problems in imperfections. And I forgot the third one that I named, but essentially the same exact thing. That is how Neanderthals actually interacted and dealt with life, everything they encountered in life, versus the African, and that's why I was making that particular point. And the African male who's actually been influenced by the Neanderthal way of thinking then does those things that are not natural to itself. But again, we're talking about an understanding of that, not just doing something because one said this is the right thing to do and you should do this. I'm done for the moment.
Pastor, are you talking?
I got real quiet again.
Are you talking, Pastor?
Position, heal thyself. What does that mean? This is not simply talking about what we were told it meant. That you to heal yourself from physical ailments. It's talking about everything that you need for deliverance is within you. Everything that's needed for healing your body is within you. Everything for your emotional healing is within you. And that's what happens when you have a therapist. The therapist take you within for you to see the things that needs to be healed as well as healing. Now, to get back to where we were about the mindset of masculinity versus along with, I should say, not versus, along with femininity. The problem or the issue, the biggest issue is that the idea of masculinity from the mindset of a Neanderthal / or that European mindset is you take what you want and you brutalize anyone who stands in your way. and you have no respect for anyone who is weaker or who you perceive to be weaker than you. And the idea of weakness based upon that mindset is anyone who is unable to overpower the one who they are being attacked by. Not understanding that strength is not shown by virtue of your willingness to kill, to maim, or to dehumanize. What I am saying is that the strength that the African mindset followed, embraced, was altered. And that strength of loving kindness became a strength of brute force without empathy. And that is why masculinity can verbally brutalize femininity, can minimize the value of femininity, and have no problems with that because of the lack of empathy for femininity. Masculinity always, every time that we talk about masculinity and femininity, masculinity always cries out, but what about the female? Why does that happen? Why does it happen? If masculinity is comfortable with itself, then it is not concerned about what about the female. Because first of all, in order for us to be men or to represent masculinity the way that we were created to represent it, it is not about castigating femininity to make us look stronger. It is about embracing femininity. And the idea of the warrior mentality, the defender of the village, doesn't mean that those who defend the village are the ones who operate the village. And let me give you a classic example of that. It matters not how much masculinity runs its mouth about, I am the breadwinner. That's your responsibility. Femininity is the one who sets the standards for the house, for the family. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, that's the reality. Where there is harmony with femininity, balance takes place. If it were not for the power, for the ingenuity, for the creativity of the African feminine mindset, we would have, as a group of people, a race of people, for lack of a better term, we would have been destroyed a long time ago. And though we don't want to admit that, it is the reality. The shoulders of the mindset of the African femininity is the thing that has brought us to where we are. The acquiescence of masculinity to the European mindset was more prominent than the femininity acquiescence to it ever has been. Why? Because male dominance is what was learned, what was forced upon us by that European mindset. And simply because we are in a space now where we've been taught that the man, the breadwinner, the man run the house, the man make all the decisions. We have been taught that. It doesn't make it right. It's a principle that is antithetical to our original mindset. Femininity is in its place not because we put it there. The Creator brought into existence the cosmic mother, cosmic femininity. And cosmic femininity does not birth anything without positive masculinity. But the positivity of masculinity cannot be experienced if the male seeks to dominate when femininity is seeking to cooperate as opposed to dominate. And the whole thesis behind this is that we must have a clearer understanding of the necessity of respecting femininity, understanding that masculinity births nothing at all. It has a part in it, but it doesn't birth it. So this is what I'm saying. If you want to birth balance and continuity in your space that you live in, then find the space of cooperation with femininity, and you will have that experience. However, if you feel like you are the dominant force and must be that dominant force, you will never find that balance. And if there was continuous friction between masculinity and femininity, then that says that one does not respect the other, or it is not a good fit for the benefit of humanity. And separation needs to take place. And all of that BS about you stand by your man no matter what is crazy. The Creator never intended for there to be any abusive relationship, whether they are psychologically abusive or physically abusive, emotional abusive. The Creator never intended for that to be. That was introduced during the invasion, and it causes me much pain and trepidation trying to understand why is it that African men are so fragile until they have a problem embracing the power of femininity, embracing the womb of femininity. How in the world can you be so fragile and always wanting to point out the weaknesses as opposed to embracing the strength? Why? How is that so when at the same time we are saying and we know that all humanity came from the womb of an African woman, of African femininity? How is it? Bottom line, a cable line was not brought into existence by masculinity. A cable line was brought into existence from the womb of the cosmic mother. And if it brought into existence from the womb of a cosmic mother, then that says to me that there is clearer insight into the direction that humanity is supposed to be traveling in. There's a clearer insight for that coming from the wisdom of femininity. And that is the reason that wisdom is feminine. Why? Because that the reservoir of wisdom is what brings everything, peace and harmony, into existence. That wisdom shows us how to put things in the macro so we can bring balance to humanity. And when we see that wisdom, when we understand that wisdom, then that wisdom the understanding becomes a seed, and that seed is to be implanted in the mindset of humanity in order for it to become what it was intended to be from the beginning. So if we are looking at this spiritually, what we actually see is the womb of wisdom producing, birthing understanding, and the understanding that is received is, excuse me, is masculine as a seed, and that masculine seed is sown into the mindset, excuse me, of humanity in order for us to be balanced. Imbalance is not sustainable. When we look at a simple understanding of it is the wealth that is in this nation that results in imbalance. This is unsustainable. And that is the reason that we are in the midst of the chaos that we are experiencing every day, is because of the imbalance of wealth, which is a result of the imbalance of spirituality. And the only mindset that can bring spirituality is that mindset that has been influenced by the wisdom of the cosmic mother and embraced the wisdom of the cosmic mother for the express purpose of the continuation of balance in this world. And when that balance becomes what it is supposed to be, then that means that the world is, humanity is not only respecting, but functioning based upon the principles of Mayat, which is also feminine. So, which means that the principles of Mayat are a womb that birth unity, that birth balance, and that birth a mindset of care, of kindness. So when it talks about physician, heal thyself, look into yourself and see who you are supposed to be. And when you see that, be who you're supposed to be, and let everyone else find within them who they are supposed to be. And if you have a problem with where the creator of everything that is has placed us in the scheme of things, then that is for you to take up with the creator. And if you have issues with that, that's on you. However, I believe, and I've experienced, and most of us, I believe, have, that when we understand the order of things in the spiritual realm, then we began to put things right in the material realm. When we understand the order of things, understanding the order of things is not lip service. Understanding the order of things is how you live your life and how you present yourself in response to what comes across your pathway, and how not only how you respond to it, but how you share it with others. Any questions or comment, or does this make sense to you guys?
It makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Any comments?
Hey, Pastor, I have a question, and what you have said makes sense, and that's why I'm bringing up this question. How do an African mind deal with the illusion of this world, and how do his mind, that African mind, function, and how do the spiritual plays in with this illusion of this world?
Okay. The mind, that first of all, the illusion is something that appears to be real, but is not. And the African mindset, or the mindset of a Kabbalah, the spiritual mindset, exposes the illusions. The illusion that we are supposed to be living a life of competition with a group of people having a head start because of their Neanderthal mindset, because of their brutality, is an illusion. Physical dominance is not real. It is an illusion. And you say, well, my body experiences it. When I say it is illusionary, I'm saying that this was not meant from the beginning. And when we embrace the mindset of Mayat, the African mindset, the mindset of a Kabbalah, the spiritual mindset, when we embrace it, it is then that we began not only to expose the illusion, but we also use the macro to show what is to be in place of that illusion. Truth is about reality. The mimicking of truth is about an illusion. It is about manipulating people to see with their eyes and to experience with their body, as opposed to seeing with their eye and experiencing spiritually, having spiritual experiences, and understanding that the foundation for all of humanity came from a Kabbalah. Then that means in order for us to bring stability to humanity, we must not only expose the illusion that we are living in, but we also must replace that illusion with the foundation that was laid for humanity from the beginning. And the foundation that was laid for humanity from the beginning is the foundation of spirituality. And we have to maintain the desires to not only understand, not only to learn of this foundation, but to build upon it. And when we do that, we have opportunity to influence the mindset of humanity. And let me give you some examples. We desired for everything to be exposed, influencing the mindset of humanity. Everything has been exposed. We talked about how the people in Gaza are being murdered. We talked about the need for intervention. We talked about all of these things. And how was this intervention influenced? People are starving. And now all of a sudden, the push for Palestine, for the Palestinians, is beginning to shift in favor of being humane. And the idea that France is recognized as a Palestinian state, I told you I didn't understand it clearly. I do see it now. It is a spiritual move. Whether Macron intended for that or not, it's a spiritual move. How is it that a European mindset, a Neanderthal mindset, would make a statement like that? It's because it is being influenced by the foundational principles that were laid for humanity from the beginning. Nothing has changed from the beginning. And the reason that the creator of everything that is allows for a Neanderthal mindset is because the foundational origin of humanity are the gods in this earth. And in order for us to realize the power and have the experience, the total experience of being Elohim, we must create in our image and likeness. And the creation in our image and likeness is not the color of our skin. The creation in our image and likeness is created based upon the premises or the foundation of Mayat. those principles that guide life, that gives humanity true direction, that gives humanity a strong sense of empathy, a desire for truth, and to build a pathway for righteousness. When we do that, that is when we begin to realize the fullness of being Elohim. And that is when we have realized that we are created in our image and likeness. And right now, when we see shifts beginning to take place that moves in the direction of bringing balance and healing to humanity, it is because of the influence of the mindsets of a Kabbalah. It is not because someone all of a sudden decided, I'm not going to think like a Neanderthal anymore. It is because of the influence of a Kabbalah. And if it were not for the influence of a Kabbalah, if it were not for the melanin, we would have no hope in changing the mindset and grasping the mindset from the beginning. We will have no direction as to how to return to beginning in order for us to be reborn or be brought reborn, meaning that born again based upon the principles of beginning and reality. Beginning not in the terms of Christianity being born again, but in born again meaning that we are born into the principles that we originally embraced. That's being born again. That's going back to beginning to be born again. It is not about baptismal, and it is clear that being born again was not clear to the mindset of Nicodemus, meaning that the mindsets that mindset says that you be dipped in some water and you say that you love Jesus and you are redeemed and you are saved. This has nothing to do with that at all. Those writings is speaking to the foundational principle of going back to beginning spiritually. So, so you can have a rebirth of the original spiritual nature that was brought into this earth at a time when no one was on this earth except the children of a Kabbalah. And the reason the whole of the earth was called a Kabbalah is because it is, a Kabbalah speaks to the paradise, the God of life, and understanding that the whole earth is a garden of life. It is no wonder that we had to cover the earth in order to bring into existence other humans that we are, to bring to a sense of understanding the principles that we live by. And it's no wonder that we, as a group of people, were brought into this landmass of a Kabbalah and treated the way we were in a physical way, which squeezed us into a corner, forcing us to hold on to some of the principles that we have experienced generationally, and now at a place where we are in the belly of the whale. We are Jonah in the belly of the great fish, meaning that we are in the midst of everything that is wrong with this world. We are at the root of it. And being at the root of it, being in the midst of this, being in Egypt, being in this tight place, we are the tip of the spear for what is to be done in terms of changing the trajectory of humanity. And if we dispense with all we know about ourselves, then there is no hope for humanity as well. If we take the writings in what is called the Bible, which simply means books, if we throw it away, simply because we know it was used to enslave us and is continuously being used for that purpose. If we throw it away, then we are throwing away a truth that guides us to the foundation of beginning. Just because it has been translated, interpreted, manipulated for the benefit of the enslaver, it does not mean that truth is not in it. The truth is there, but it cannot be read with your eyes. You cannot see the truth by reading the pages. You must see the truth with your eye. And what you read is what is put before you, the scroll that you read with your soul and not with your eyes. And when you say that something came to me and it is beneficial to humanity, you are reading the scroll. And you are bringing into existence the reality of what's in those sacred writings. And there are periods of time when we look at these sacred writings and we see things that has been in front of our face all of our lives. Yet we say that we treat it rather like it's an exercise in academia when it isn't. It is our ancestors who embraced Christianity and knew that Christianity was not the best way to go because of how it justified lynchings, etc. Now that our ancestors left these bodies and they see what's in reality in the sacred books, they are bringing this understanding to us. And as we speak not knowing what we are going to say in terms of understanding the writings. When we open our mouths, the words that flow may sound like our voice, but the words are the words that is embedded in our soul as a result of being open to humanity, being open to the ancestors, having a deep desire to sacrifice everything for the benefit of humanity, coming to a place of balance. Does all this make sense? Can you see what the effort that I'm trying to make in bringing understanding about the nature of spirituality?
Yes, it all makes sense.
Are there any questions or comments in regards to this?
Like I said, it makes sense, Pastor, because when George brought that up, I want to understand it a whole lot more. And when you brought it out, I received it just like the world was falling back and showing me at that time you were speaking about illusion. But the delusion is there, but Kabbalah is opening our eyes up to the illusion and putting truth on it.
Yes.
So you will understand the illusion with the truth.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone
Now,
else?
can I hear Kathy's version of what she understand out of it? Is she on?
She's on. Kathy?
I'm on, but I'm not understanding what you're asking me.
I'm trying to get a woman point of view of an African to show me. It's hard to put in words because, like I said, so much was open to me when Red was talking.
Okay, cool. Charlie, let's see if I can help you. Are you asking for a feminine response to what was said a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let me say, first of all, that I purposely chose not to respond to that because if you think back to when we had this conversation weeks ago, I pretty much laid out the fact that being trained educationally, I even said, even with degrees and being trained educationally, as you're beginning to open things up spiritually, you see it differently. I think I may have said that 10 times when we were talking about this a month ago. So basically, Charles, everything that Pastor said earlier about truth and counseling or whatever profession you may be in, he was absolutely right. And one of the reasons I chose not to speak, and I'm just going to speak my truth for a moment, is because there comes a time when you have to recognize that people change when they're ready, or people may call in for various reasons, and maybe the reasons not even for change. But regardless, you put the truth there and you let it be what it is. And everyone has the option. And I think Sheldon said this earlier. Everyone has the option to do with it whatever they choose. And so therefore, I mean, this thing of counseling or this thing, I feel like we have beat that horse to death. That's why I didn't say anything, because we are speaking spiritual truth now, not just academia of what you were trained to do and how you were trained to do something. And so basically the things that have been said from the spiritual standpoint are absolutely correct. And truth stands on its own. You don't have to debate it. You don't have to try to justify it. You let it be what it is. And that's why I chose not to say anything. So I'm not engaging. I'm not looking for a fight. I'm not engaging in a fight today. Truth is what it is. And we've laid it out there. Now the hearer, the student, has the option of what they're going to do with that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
That's good. That's good, honey, because I was trying to understand the female part of the illusion of an African woman. That was all.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to that? I'm very much interested in seeing if anyone would like to speak, seeing anyone who would like to speak to that.
This is Audrey. I'm kind of in agreement with Kathy because it goes along the same trajectory. The illusion has been all about male dominance and you know, the male is the head of the whatever, and women sit back and don't speak unless you're spoken to, that sort of thing. So that's always been the illusion. But as Kathy says, the truth will find its way, no matter how the illusion tries to cover it up or suppress it. The truth will always be resurrected, so to speak. So from my perspective, and I agree with Kathy, there's no reason to try to beat the dead horse. The truth will find its way to where it needs to be or where it needs to go. And with everyone on the phone, if it resonates with you, then that's the truth that you're hearing. And if it doesn't, you're just not ready to hear it yet. So, but it will get to the people who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. So, that's about all I can say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Appreciate that from both of you.
Thank you all.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. I was sitting and I was listening to Kathy, and like you could almost hear like the urgency and frustration, and because like especially when you someone like, and I know Rev Ron and all of the teachers. I know at times you kind of feel this frustration because you see it's a sense of urgency, you know, because you see we missed the mark for so long, and you see the world that we live in. Even though this is illusion and everything that we see is the result of something and a choice or a decision or actions and things like that, and we see that and we know that and recognize that, but at the same time trying to relay that message and relay truth and to get people to see it. And the one thing we have to realize is everybody's not going to see it. Everybody's not going to get it. Some people are going to look at us like we're crazy. And that's fine. But at the same time, it's still frustrating. And then, you know, because I had someone call me yesterday. And this person very rarely calls me when they want to talk about spiritual stuff. Because they know they're going to start talking about bringing up Jesus, and they did this. Somebody told them this at church, and like the last time we talked, I said, when I hear you talk about Jesus, I said it's almost like you're talking about Santa Claus. I said because they both are fictional characters. I can't believe you said that. You grew up in the church. All this. I'm like, well, that's just the reality of it. I said first of all, his name ain't Jesus, and I said we can get into that. That's gonna take us down one path, and you still probably not gonna get it. And then if we go into all this, you still not, because you don't really want to get it. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really want to get it, and it's not for those. And Pastor Rich used to have to remind me of this all the time, because I would argue with anybody, debate with anybody who wanted to debate about the truth. And it's not about debating, it's about action. The ones of us who do get it take action. And the ones who don't, they will. If they want to, if they desire, that's the desire that they want, they'll get it. But the ones who don't desire to get it, they're not going to get it. And they're not expected to get it because it's not what they desire. And I could kind of hear that, you know, in Kathy's voice. And I think that's how we feel. A lot of us feel at times. That's just all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you. Was that Don? Thank you, Don, and you're correct. Thank you.
Anyone? It doesn't matter. Anyone?
I was reminded listening to the discussion, young lady I had a conversation with at work, and we got into talking about her divorce, her relationship, and how long she'd been married. And the thing she ended up saying was all of their fights were because, as he put it, she backtalked too much. She didn't know when to hush. She always had a question. She didn't know when to be quiet. And she said, I didn't mean to backtalk him, but I never agreed with him half the time. And I want to know, you know, where he got his information from. And we ended up, and it got so bad that sometimes he'd even jump on her to get her to hush. And my thing was to her was, in as delicate a way as I could, to say, you're a grown woman. It's impossible for you to backtalk your husband. The relationship you had. Now, you know, we got into a discussion about what the relationship should have been. And it got so bad that she started defending him against me. And so the bottom line was I left her alone, but I appreciate the discussion, what everybody has said, and how Pastor laid that out, because the way to bring balance to this is not uh, to try to force anybody, even logically talk about it, or even in a way counsel, as we've talked about counseling. It's more of a spiritual thing, and it has to be shown. The eye has to be open, and the desire has to be there. So uh, I just appreciate the understanding and looking at it from that perspective, because it is an issue and something that is deeply embedded in our people, masculine and feminine. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, Jesus said, it is attributed to this entity called Jesus. Will you lead me also? We understand that the essence of Yeshua is deliverance. We understand that. So what is the sacred book saying? You understand. No, I'm sorry. You have been presented with an understanding of wisdom. You have been presented with the whole concept of going to begin and to find yourself, going to the root, the foundation of a Kabbalah to find yourself. You have experienced all of this, says deliverance. Why? This is a part of deliverance. This is who you are. And after all you have heard, and as long as you have been following this pathway that leads to deliverance, you are still pondering whether or not you are a deliverer or even want to be. So are you saying that you are going to leave deliverance alone? You're going to get off of this pathway? You're going to find another way to do what you want to do? You cannot take the sacred writings and make them say what you want them to say and expect to get results. It doesn't happen. And the reason that we have found little results in following what we were taught while we were in church, the reason is because the sacred words have been presented to us in a non-conforming way for beginning, in a manner that is selfish, dictatorial, ignorant, racist, misogynistic. That's how these words were presented to us. And that's the reason we got deeper in trouble rather than seeing light at the end of the tunnel. But now that we are seeing these sacred words for what they are really saying, we are not leaving the pathway of deliverance, because we understand that right now we are in the trenches on this pathway. And traveling this pathway, there are going to be mountains that we must surmount. There are going to be rivers that we must cross. There are going to be trenches that we are going to labor in for quite some time before we are able to move forward. And simply because of the burden of all of this, it doesn't mean that we are tired of doing it. It means, as has been said, we get frustrated with doing it, and the frustration is not because we think that somebody is not worthy of it. The frustration is that we want them so badly to move forward with us. We want everyone to climb the rungs of this ladder as we have climbed. We want everyone to do that. And the frustration is we don't want to leave anyone behind. However, if there is a desire to remain in the space that you have been in forever and a day, that's cool. That's fine. That simply means that you labor under the mindset of the European or the Neanderthal. And if you are comfortable with that, that's okay too. We, as has been said, do not seek to pressure anyone or to make anybody feel guilty as the church did to us in order to control us. Our desire is not control. Our desire is enlightenment. The enlightenment for everyone. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The number of people who have walked away from what we teach and have taught are numbers beyond our ability to count them. There are faces that we see from time to time, and it brings to our remembrance that they are one who left also. But guess what? We are still laboring on their behalf because it is our desire that none be left in bondage, but all be delivered from this bondage. That all are delivered, meaning that it is the desire of Elohim that all be delivered and none be left behind. That's our desire. Our desires are met with humanity when humanity desires to change. When humanity gets sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it is my contention, and I know it's yours as well, that humanity has not just approached being sick and tired of being tired. Humanity is sick and tired of being tired. And that is represented by the pushback that the orange man is receiving from his base. Do I say the base is seeing the enlightenment of deliverance? That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that the universe does what it chooses to do in order to bring humanity into compliance. And if it takes using Omega base based upon the lies that has been told about on Jeffrey Epstein, then so be it. Everything works for our good. What I mean by that, what does the scripture say about that? It is simply saying that keep your eye open and you will see the progress that's made even with those things that looks like a setback. They are not. There are opportunities to move forward. Just march in place for just a little while. Just a little while. Sit on the banks of the river and rest just for a little while the universe works it out. And when the universe has worked it out, then we get off the banks of the river and we get back into the river and we begin to flow again. Don't get frustrated on the banks. The banks gives us rest and peace and allows us to be open for more enlightenment. And here we are in a war, a spiritual war for the benefit of humanity, a spiritual war that I nor any of us, I do believe, has ever experienced or ever even read about in during the course of history. What we have seen ever since the invasion is dominance. Dominance by a mindset that caught us off guard in the manner in which it approached us. The hospitality was met with brutality. The love and kindness was met with hatred and greed. And now that we are seeing it for what it is, we understand that we were brought across this great river and in chains in order for us to come to a realization that we are Elohim. And when we saw that, when we looked for that in the sacred writings, it was not to be found, which means that we are in a dimension of change. We are no longer in a dimension of servitude, of enslavement, we are in a dimension of deliverance. And let us hold on to that, regardless of what we see with our eyes. Just believe what you see with your eye. And when something resonates with you, it doesn't mean that you're going to remember it. It means that it remembers you. And the reason it resonates is because your eye saw it, your eye experienced it. And when it is needed, it will flow from your mouth without you giving any thought to it. Because by you accepting what resonates with you, it means that it is you. And the you that it is will present itself when the opportunity presents itself. So worry not about where you are, know who you are. Any questions or comments?
Well, Reb, into the group, I will say this. You know, what you call a dog with no legs? You can call him whatever you want to call him. He ain't coming. So sometimes in life, we got to go to the Neanderthal. And the Neanderthal is not just the European. And the Neanderthal can be me. I ain't coming to you. You got to come to me, and vice versa. Y'all are Neanderthal. I got to come to you. So that's just a frequency that I live by. When I see things are chaotic, George, you get on up there and you bring some degree of peace. And that's what my ancestors tell me. That's what I'm going to use you for, George. So if you're going to make a change out here, sometimes you got to go deal with the Neanderthal, the person or the people who don't know nothing, and enlighten them. And then enlightenment may not be instantly. But I've said some things to people and they come, George, I thought about what you said. And man, you were spot on. And guess what? That thing may be 4 years down the road. So if you're going to make a change, you're going to have to deal with the Neanderthal. Thank you.
First of all, let me say this. I am not a Neanderthal. I'm not a Neanderthal. The only group of people who have Neanderthal genes are Europeans. The genetic makeup of a Neanderthal may make an attempt to alter my genetic makeup, but it cannot do that. Why? Because my primary makeup is of a cable line. The melanin overrides that. Nothing can override the melanin. Melanin is not just a physical thing in your body. Melanin is a spiritual technology that supports all life forms in every aspect of this thing that we call a body. Melanin is a spiritual entity that guides the mindset of those who choose to have the mindset of beginning. Yes, we go through the Neanderthal, and I'm not talking about a European person. I'm talking about the mindset of the European. Yes, I've had an education that at the hands of those who are Neanderthal in their mindset. Yes, I have. However, the crux of the education, the crux of academia that I traveled through was a system of Africans. My whole life in academia, from the age of 4, 5 years old until this day, the primary source has been from Africans. And the reason that I'm able to understand history and present it and understand the scriptures, the sacred book, and present it is because my decision has been made. My mind has been made up. My journey is laid before me, and I shall never alter the course of my journey. And that journey is and has been for years to understand who I am and what happened to put me in the place that we have lived. And now I see that it is not an individual person, it is a mindset that the Creator allowed to flourish in the earth so that we could become the essence of who we were created to be, Elohim, created in image and likeness, not skin color, not body structure, but created in the image and likeness in terms of spirituality, in terms of mutual love and respect for each other. When I talk about balance, I'm not talking about everybody having the same amount of money. It has nothing to do with balance. I'm talking about the essence of the attitude, the essence of the emotional
Pastor,
state.
can I ask you something before you go any further? Before you miss what I wanted to ask you something right quick. One what you just said.
Go ahead.
Is it so much that the Creator allowed these things to happen in the earth, or we allowed these things to happen in the earth?
The Creator allowed them to happen in the earth. Why do I say that? Because there is no life in this earth that is human that did not have its genesis from the womb of the African. Every single entity on the face of this earth, regardless of attitude, has within it the Eve gene, the gene of life, the gene that was embedded in us from the beginning. And that gene, that gene is the genetic connection that we have to each other. And that is the reason I have been shown that dealing with people based on their color, like white people or Europeans, is not the journey. It is not the answer. It is not the solution. The solution is understanding that everything is spiritual. And when we talk about a mindset of the Neanderthal or the mindset of a European, we are talking about the spiritual essence of those entities. And the spiritual essence of those entities is that it has no spirituality in that mindset. And it has no melanin, but it has melanite, which means that it can be converted into melanin. And I am of the mindset that the conversion into melanin of melanocyte is not just from the physical sun. I believe that it is also from enlightenment. And that enlightenment is so strong until it influences that mindset to the extent that it finds value in loving kindness. It finds value in truth. It finds value in reaching out to humanity in a balanced manner. So, yes, everything came from the Creator, but everything that the Creator brought into existence has a purpose. And when we understand who we are, then we are better able to see that purpose and to see that if it were not for the substance of that mindset, then we would not have any substance to create. Because creating is not about a table or a tree. Creating is about a mindset. It's about the influence, a positive influence, a spiritual influence on a mindset that brings it into compliance with the universe. Does that make sense, Don?
Yes.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Just want to say thank you, and I agree. Well, I don't need to add anything to that. The struggle to recognize the spiritual truth behind the illusion that we have been sort of forced to, well, that we are participating in, is that same struggle of the call to remember our essence within the context of a hostile Neanderthal / European, etc. mindset. It's like the antithesis to that mindset is the mindset of the African, which, in allowing those two to become distinct, sort of the means by which they are reconciled is somehow present in that physical illusory distinction as a means, a record of the path back to the recognition of the original mindset, the mindset of harmony and unity and love and kindness, which is the sort of example that draws all things to it, though they may be confused and a part of that Neanderthal mindset. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Audrey? Thought you were about to speak, that's all. Anyone else? Ron?
All right, great discussion, guys. Don't want to leave anybody out though. Any thoughts or questions you may have had from what has been said today? Okay. Well, we'll put a pin in it for today and hope you have a great day.
May I say this before we go? This is just a reminder. We are in South Carolina, and what I'm looking at now is that the real feel of the temperature today is 113. So be careful. Be mindful of what you do and how long you're in the heat. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
You too.
See you.
Guys, see you
Thank
later.
you, everyone.
Everybody.
Guys,
Thank
bye,
you.
guys. Have a good day.
Take care, family.
Thank you.